A 1 hour episode to travel just 4.5 nautical miles. You've got to be kidding me. How much nautical stuff can I video in Guernsey? Well, check it out in this episode. Hope you enjoy it. Good morning, Friday the 28th of March. I'm here on Guernsey in this beautiful marina. A bit cool today. But look at the water down here. You can actually see the old quarry, and it's pretty deep, and it was all blasted out, and it was blasted out by the English after the Second World War and turned into a small harbour and then a marina. So pretty cool place. I'm just heading off. I got a message to say that my snubber is ready to pick up. Really excited about that. So I'll take you and introduce you to the marine store that did it. Fantastic marine store. Look, I was going to learn how to splice and stuff like that, but I just figured with the snubber, I think it's better to have it done professionally. So it was done out of 20mm polyester line, 5.7 metres long, the bridle on either side going to the cleats, and then the actual hook for the 10mm chain around a couple of eyes. So yeah, obviously I'll show it to you when I pick it up, but I think it's going to be absolutely magic. It's the best way for, I think, a snubber to work. We tried it with a line and that works really well, but it's fiddly. So now we've tried it with the line and got it how we're happy with it. We took the measurements off that and got the snubber made up, so it's fitted specifically for the boat. We can just loop it over the cleats. Anyway, it's about a half-hour walk. Feel like a bit of a walk. I'm feeling a lot better. Bit of a sniffle still, but not too bad. I'm just going to have a look out here, because if you remember, I came in because there was some not so good weather due and a high tide, so I thought I'd just check out up here what that actually looks like, and I suspect it's going to be alright. Yep. And it would have been. I could have stayed out there, but look, I'm happy to be here. And the marina here really taking advantage of all the space they've got. There's the restaurant I was in last night, or the bar. Marina offices upstairs, and they got, looks like about 20 or 30 camper van sites here as well. Just one camper van there last night, but yeah, good diversification, eh? Gosh, you remember in a previous video I talked about how tomatoes was one of the big income earners for the island, and you look here, I mean, it's amazing. There's 4 big glass, not plastic, glass tunnel houses, and then down the far end there are another 3 that are even bigger, and they've just gone to rack and ruin and completely and utterly overgrown with, looks like blackberry and brambury, or what an expense, all on this land no longer used, and it's all over. That's cost someone an awful lot at some point, because glass houses like that are not cheap. So there you go, there is a low tide look in this little bay leading into Samson of all the mooring lines that in any other place would be below water. So they're just running across the bay there from the wall, pretty obvious, but you don't always get to see it, to the other side, and then along the way attached to them at various points are buoys that obviously float in when the tide comes in. You can kind of see from that why you wouldn't want to anchor in these places. Like, don't just come in and think you can. Man, you would not be popular. Unique part of the world, really. It's beautiful. Well, stopped on the way and decided to get myself, or to have another go at a flat white. Looks a bit weak, I'm afraid. But anyway, don't think it's easy getting a decent coffee in this country. But anyway, treat myself to a naughty muffin and a coffee, £5.90. So that's not bad, seeing you're not just getting a coffee for it. Right, so down there is where we pick up the fuel next Thursday. Now, the other day I came around at low tide and that still had 2 meters of water in it, but because today's a spring tide and there's a ship there, there's a ship parked there at low tide. Because today's a spring tide and we're right up to 10.5 meter tides, the low tide is incredibly low. So that's a stark picture of the difference. Wow. Okay, here I am in M&G Chandlery and Boat Parts. Amazing place, really good service. Dolly's the man to ask for. He's fantastic. Great shop look. And you know what? The prices are fair. So you can't ask for more than that when it comes to boating. But I got my snubber made here and bridle for the boat, which is just fantastic. So I'll post up their link if you're in Samson, Guernsey. Call in and see them. Look at that old chain. It's got that really, really old look about it that iron goes to when it was made years and years ago. There's just a very old chain, buried I suspect from a long time ago, and it's slowly become uncovered with walking, but it goes nowhere. Well, it goes under there, but it certainly doesn't continue out to the water. So that was there for something, I would think, many, many, many years ago, possibly more than 100 years. Anyway, never gonna know, are we? I don't even think ChatGPT would know the answer to that. You just wouldn't know though. Things you come across. On the way back to the marina, I came across this Déhus, which is a complex prehistoric passage grave that has a narrow entrance into a broad chamber. It's got side chambers on either side. Most of it was discovered only about 100 years ago, but there are finds in here dating from 3,500 to 2000 BC, which is incredible. It was re-excavated in 1932 by Sir Robert Mond and a Mr. V.C. Collum, who reconstructed the circular mound. So yeah, it was bought for £4 in 1775 in order to save its destruction. It was going to be destructed. So anyway, there's a wee photo. They look like, that's almost Neanderthal, is it? Not sure, probably not, but it was a burial chamber. So let's go inside and have a look, eh? So almost a little bit like Stonehenge in the style of blocks, and so people have walked in here or been in here since 3,500 BC, and this is all stone ceiling as well, which just doesn't really do it for me. I get a bit nervous with that sort of thing. But anyway, these are the separate burial chambers in here. Pretty amazing. How cool is it that it's been preserved and maintained? They must have been short people. Anyway, I'll head out, turn the light off, and something else of interest that you just come across walking around. Here it is there. Amazing. People at this marina, Beauset Marina, the north end of Guernsey, are just so cool, friendly, welcoming. We're going to come back here next week with my cousin and with Vince. We're going to go to the restaurant. It's so well set up. Anyway, I asked them if it was okay to get some drone footage, and they said, oh yeah, could you share it with us? So they want to do some marketing and that. So yesterday I put the drone up, did a beautiful flight, got back, and I'd forgotten to turn the camera on. Anyway, I'm going to head off now and do it. Should be really cool. I'm just going to get up a little bit so I can get coming into the harbour as well, because it looks quite cool at low tide with it dry out there. And then I'll quickly pop up later and should be able to get the tide starting to come in over the race. It flows in pretty quick. Gorgeous day, cleaned the boat this morning. It always feels good when it's done, not while you're doing it. Then this afternoon I'm going to head back over to Herm Island and anchor over there. Got a 10 metre tide tonight, so that's going to be interesting. I have to be really careful, and I've got to get out of here at the right time. So yeah, we'll manage that. Anyway, pretty cool day. Pretty cool day. Just going to clamber my way over, get above the entrance. It's so low on Monday that when it's low tide, they're getting a digger into the entranceway just to do some, well, they call it dredging, but digging out to ensure they keep the required depth. But so there you go, there it is down there, look. There's the marina in there, and at low tide it's flowing out, and at high tide it comes up to just below the white paint. In fact, yesterday some of the white paint was underwater. Good morning, Sunday the 30th of March. Yesterday you would have seen I came over to the back of Herm Island. It's a great forecast, but looks like I've actually packed myself into a little bit of a corner here. I'll just show you outside. Again, the video probably doesn't show. You can see the flag out there. So we've got a nor'wester of probably 15 knots blowing and a little bit of sea chopping up, and we're just coming up to high tide. So I'll just show you where we are first. So here's Guernsey there, and here's Herm Island over here. So I'll just zoom in there a bit. I'm tucked in the back here in this little bay. Now, I stayed in this bay before, so I was happy to come back here. I felt like I knew it reasonably well. Came back here last night. Now, there was a 10-metre tide, so I've had to back off the bay a little bit because under the keel I was only showing 8 metres, and I needed 8 metres. Sorry, I needed 10 metres under the keel so that I could get 2 metres of clearance. So I've had to come out probably another 200 metres or so at least. You can see there, that's where I stayed the first time, and this is where I stayed last night. Now, unfortunately, the wind has picked up to be a bit stronger than was expected. So it's made being out here pretty unpleasant. I could stay, there's no drama. I'm just waiting for the 8 o'clock weathers to come in, so it's about another hour away. But what I started looking at is, because it was pretty uncomfortable, stuff starting to move around on the boat and that a bit, was do I head back to the marina? Now I started looking at that, so let's go in here. So we go information, we go tides, St. Peter Port, and there we are, which is just down the road from Beauset Marina. We're just coming up to the high tide, and you can see it there. It's 10 metres and it's down to 0.4 as a low tide. So it's a massive tidal change, and I wanted to come out and try that because I wanted to see what it was like. I want to start working with the tides, understanding them a little bit better, knowing what they feel like, how the water is around. And what you find, there's such a big volume of water coming in and going out that if there's any wind at all, you really feel that volume of water. So it's been a fairly rocky night. I haven't had the best of sleeps, and I think the thing is here, if the weather's looking at all not idyllic, then it's better just to be on the marina. So I don't have much choice here, even though it's not really what I want. So if you have a look here, we've got the high tide coming up now, probably at 8 o'clock this morning, and then I can't get into Beauset at low tide. So anything after about 9:30, 9:45 isn't going to be any good for me. So the next thing that I look at is what are the currents doing around me, because we've got a little bit of wind now, and wind against current with the tide moving and everything is not the best. Now, I assumed that the current wouldn't be too bad given we're coming up to high tide slack. And I figured that high tide slack around this whole area would probably mean that the current was fairly minimal as well. But what I found, see, here I am here, and if I just tap over here and check the H current, here we are at 7:45. It's running through at 5 knots. So we've got a 5 knot current, and it's moving in the direction of 31 degrees. So it's actually heading out that way, and the wind is coming that way. So that's not ideal. And that's even with us coming up to high tide slack. Now when you look out there, it doesn't look too bad, but every now and then you just see a little bit of a white cap. So, you know, the potential is that it's not particularly pleasant. Now, when does it drop? So the current drops, we pull this along here, we're getting down to 1 knot at about 10:30. But 10:30 is where the tide is starting to get quite low going into Beauset. So you can that's where I kind of feel I've just sort of backed myself into a little bit of a corner. Do I head off early but have the big current, or do I wait till a bit later, but then I've got a lot of water flowing out of Beauset Marina? So I'm just working through that at the moment. I can always come back here. So my view at this stage is I'm going to get the new weathers at 8 o'clock, and then I'm going to up anchor and I'm going to start heading on the route that I've now gone on twice, which is cool. So I feel comfortable with that. It's high tide, so there's plenty of water, and I'm just going to go and see what it's like heading back to Beauset. Round the other side of the island, it's running through there at 5 knots as well. But it does die off quite quickly. So yeah, I'll probably head off about 9:15, get there about 9:30. Worst comes to the worst, I'm back here for another rolly night. But lot to learn about tides, currents. Yeah, pretty interesting actually. Yeah, very interesting. Anyway, let's do it. Alright, so I'm on my way. We're getting up to 10.5 knots and we just got 1200 RPM. So definitely got that current pushing us along. These action cams take all the bumps out of it, but out both sides of us here there's white caps from the current, not from the wind. And out that side as well, that's Sark Island. No cars on that island, just horse and cart and four-wheel drives, or little quad bikes. It's always pleasing, there's a couple of yachts out here. So if the locals are out in yachts, they look to be about 30 feet. That always makes you feel a lot happier, that's for sure. But yeah, check the weather at 8 o'clock, and the weather from here right through till Thursday is really only deteriorating. So just got to suck it up, go on to the marina. Just got to check I can get in. Should be fine, they came out, so I'll get in. Anyway, yep, back to Beauset Marina. Beautiful marina, lovely people. So I've done some drone work for them, I'll get that off to them. They've got nice showers there, and given the conditions with strong currents, big tides and easterlies coming, which are just awful round Guernsey, I'll hunker down there. If it looks okay, I might go around the western side of the island. Apparently it's beautiful around there, and in and easterly it's fine. So I'll talk to the locals and we will go from there. But just 5 miles to run. Look at those beautiful clean windows, eh? I'm going to tell you all about that soon. I've got a product on them that I'm sold on. I'll give you a link for it. Alright, so that's just 10 knots of wind. All that chop out there is from current. Tides, high tide slack. But there's a 6 knot current going through, basically from my port towards starboard. It's okay though, you know, it's alright. Hey, look, I've discovered this amazing product, so I want to share it with you, and I'll put a link in the description and up in the video for it, because honestly it's just brilliant. Anyway, Clearview, there you go, that's it, and it's readily available from Amazon, so I'll put the link in so you can go straight to Amazon. Amazing stuff. It just makes the boat windows so clean, and then anytime you get water on them it just disappears. So all you need is an easy cloth, you know, for applying the product, then a little squeegee with some water in it just so you can spray it afterwards, and some handy towels. You start out by washing the windows, and then you literally just let the water dry on the windows. So I mean, the thing is, the product is so easy to use and the result is so amazing that I actually enjoy cleaning with it, which is just something special. So there we have it. Look, we've got nice dry windows. So all we do is we take the bottle and we just put a little bit on the cloth, just wet it up a bit, and then you literally take it in hand and in a circular motion, overlapping, just rub it on the window so it all overlaps, and then you let that dry. We'll do this little porthole as well. So you just do it sort of, they say a hazy, it's not really hazy, but you can see what they mean. And then once that actually dries, you go and you do it again. So you don't put more material on, you just do it again with the damp multi-cloth with the product on it. And you see it just takes a little bit of muck off if there's any grime there. There it is there. Now, once it dries, you just get a little spray bottle with just water in it. Do both those. Then you get handy towels, just scrunch them up and you wipe the excess water off. Right, and then basically polish it dry. You just go up and down until it's beautiful and dry, and that is job done. And what it does is it puts a super fine coat over it. They recommend, if it's hard wearing or out in harsh environment, to do it once a month, but other than that they say it lasts months. So I reckon you could actually do it every 2 months, would be fine. Now what I'm going to do is take you up on the boat, and I just wash the boat down with water after coming in from Herm Island, and I just sprayed water on the windows of the boat. Now I don't know if you can quite see that, but you can just see there's just the odd tiny little droplet sitting there. The rest of it's just disappeared, and that's what the windows look like. I'll go around this side, it might be a little bit more obvious. Yeah, look at it here, you can see it there. So the water just comes off the windows, and when I was spraying it, you could literally just see it disappearing. So if you want spotless windows, that's the stuff to get. Honestly, Clearview it's called, and as I say, I've put the Amazon link there in the description, and it'll be up on the video as well. But honestly, it's really quick. clear view. It's cheap as chips, $5 or something. And look at those windows. Ha! Only the sun was on them, eh? Well, this is pretty amazing. There's about 35 knots of easterly blowing, and there's a high tide coming in tonight of about 10.5 metres, and it is literally just surging through that gap over there. Difficult to pick out maybe, sorry about the wind, the noise, but it's like a river going past the end of the pier there. And if you look out here, they've tied all the piers together with ropes, because these ones out here take the full brunt of the easterly. So again, sorry about the noise, but man, it's coming in through there real quick. Wow. I put double ropes or double lines against off all the hold on points, and yeah, you can feel the boat coming up against them, but we've got them equal tightness, so the load's being borne by all three cleats at the same time. But man, she's pretty rugged out there. Again, the camera just doesn't pick it up, but you're probably getting, looks to me like about a metre surge through that gap there. It's a pretty restricted flow, and we're about a metre, yeah, probably a metre off high tide, so it should settle down soon. Then it'll turn a course and start going out. But you know, I've never seen anything like the tides you get over here. They're pretty impressive, that's for sure. Anyway, good place to be here on the boat, not out there at anchor in the lee of the other island over there. Navily had it as 98% tonight on the western side, but yeah, just wasn't game to go over there with this wind that was building. But man, that's yeah, the ocean's pretty powerful, but certainly happening out there. You really can't pick it up the way I can see it here and hear it, the noise. Wow. Oh, that's over. I am beyond exhaustion. I am, yeah, where do I start? Well, I take my hat off to all you ladies out there that are cleaners, and that's, let's face it guys, 99% of the cleaning inside a house is done by women. And I just, I'm almost done, and I admit, I sit here in awe of you. I'm doing my spring clean, and I'm going over this boat from top to bottom, front to back, sideways, and I'm wiping every single surface, every nook and cranny down. And it's been 3 days solid so far, and I've still got a third to go, but I haven't got to the engine room. We just take so much for granted for what happens in a house every day, and I'm not good at just slowly doing things bit by bit every day. I'm just hopeless at that. So it's been a spring clean, and I mean, I clean the showers, I clean the toilets and the sinks, but you know, that in the kitchen, but that's mainly it. The rest of it, it's a big job like this. And on these boats, man, there is just so much little bits and pieces that need cleaning. All the little cracks, the little detail points where the light fittings are around the cupboards, air conditioning vents. I mean, there's some of my wet wipes, there's my cleaning gear. Pink gloves, Gary, pink gloves for you. I'm now just going into the main cabin. I've done both heads. I've done the guest cabin for my cousin arriving. Vince is arriving for this cabin. And then tomorrow morning I'm going to do, or tomorrow morning, yeah, right. I'm going to do all the floors and the last of the walls in the pilot house and the floors in the saloon, and then I'm done. But I have been through 3 jumbo packs of wet wipes. I just find them really, really good. You just feel like you're, you know, putting an antibacterial thing out there. But anyway, girls, this is for you. I take my hat off to you. It's a big job. Yep, outside jobs are big too, that by and large most of the men do, but not like this. It's borders on soul destroying, because you know, I mean, there are places I started 3 days ago that have got dust on them again. But anyway, well done, girls. Well done. You're amazing. You're amazing. All right. Okay, so interesting day today. Thursday the 3rd of April, and I'm heading off around to Samson Marina to do the refuel. It's going to be about 3,300 litres, I think, from what I can get. So I just go auto guidance. We don't want the previous path. We're going to start navigation. There we go. We don't want the autopilot in yet. So the big challenge today is we've actually got a wind blowing us off the pier. So what we're going to have to do is we've got the midship springer set. We're going to go forward idle on the starboard engine with port tiller in, and just very quietly come up against the tension. That should hold us onto the pier, and then I will head outside and release the bow line and the stern line. We're coming up to a 4 metre tide at the moment, so it's reasonably docile out through the entranceway there, and that easterly has died off a bit through the night, which is fantastic. So I'm just going to have a quick look at the current in the strait. So go F there, we've been through this a few times. It's 2.9 knots, and it's flowing towards 33 degrees magnetic, so I'm going to have a head current. It does get up to 5 knots, so I do want to get away reasonably promptly. It's coming up 9:30, and I've got the booking in the Refueling marina at 10 o'clock. Okay, so we've got forward idle on the starboard. We've got the rudder to the port. What I'm going to do is take the starboard engine back to idle, and then that should immediately allow us to go a little bit slack, and I can get the midship springer off. Okay, you notice here we're just very slowly coming off the pier. We're going to go forward, centre tiller, got the stabilisers on, and away we go. And obviously heading out of here, just got to keep a bit of forward momentum going. If you don't do that, then you're going to be caught by any current coming in or whatever. So you got to just have a little bit of confidence in your steering. You've got to know where your bum is. We're just going past that pillar on the left on the midships. So there we go there. I'm happy to come around to starboard now. It does feel a little bit nerve-wracking going through here. It's fairly tight, but look, we've got 4 metres underneath us. I'm mid-channel, and it's the same old story. The more you do it, the more you get used to it. Got to be a little bit careful there. You don't want to have the tail kick around. Just put a little bit of port tiller in to keep the tail away from those rocks as we go past. All right, here we are out. Okay, we're going to go out via the track I came in on until I pick up the route down to Samson Harbour. And Samson Harbour is halfway between Beauset Marina, amazing marina, halfway between Beauset Marina and St. Peter's. So it's not far to go. We've got 8 metres under us, North Cardinal marker here. Right, I'm just going to put the autopilot in. We're in heading hold. Alright, I'll check in with you when we're on our way into Samson. Wow, that was pretty intense. I was coming up here with 2100 RPM, which is about 70% power, and we were down to 3.5 knots. And you could feel it hit. you'd have the power on, and then you just feel the boat rear nose up, and you go from 6.5, 7 knots down to 3.5, and then it would disappear and you'd go again. Yeah, pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. That current is strong. It's supposed to be getting up to about 5 knots. I'd say it's a good 4 now. So anyway, just do a right hand turn soon, going on the guidance line for Samson Marina. I've spoken to DTC at Guernsey. They say there's no traffic. You see a bit of choppy water up ahead there from the current. And we'll come around to the right fairly soon, and that will, you'll see the 2 white markers going into the harbour. Just come around 10 degrees. Someone gave me a great tip on the channel the other day. They said when you set all your cameras up, just go out there and go, and then that sets your time. So all 3 cameras, you can set your noise time, if you like, because then you can get them all beautifully aligned and start editing from there, because I've yet to do one with 3 cameras. Now I think that's going to be pretty, going to be a lot of work actually. Alright, so just slowed down a little bit, or brought power back a little bit, and we're actually speeding up. We're doing a good 8 knots now. And you can see out the front there, I hope you can see it. I'm pointing probably about 20 degrees into the current, and we're just sliding sideways. I'm going to go another 10 degrees to the left because we're just slipping off that guidance line coming into Samson. 286 is what we want. Oh, just gone out a bit of current there, so just do a few more to the right. Man, that's quite a current. I mean, look at the angle there. Just sliding in sideways. 286, I'd say I want to go on to about 266. I'll start coming around a little bit now. Got about a 20 degree angle into this. 273 I've got at the moment. I'll just zoom in a little bit more. And there straight ahead of us are the markers into the harbour. So we're doing 8 knots, just going to slow down a little bit. They say you can do 6 knots into here because I think they understand that at times you need a bit more speed. All the warnings going off there for low water. Alright, that's looking good. Back to 6 knots, nice and manageable. Once I'm in here, I can go and put the fenders back out. I'm coming past now is where that reasonably big cargo boat was the other day. That was half sitting on the bottom, and they're designed to take it. So they gave a special term for it. I didn't quite get it, but it's basically that it's semi-supported weight, so it couldn't go completely dry. 5.7 metres. All right, okay, we're down to 4 knots. Just going to slow up here. I'll just leave our stern into the wind. Right, here's our speed there, so I'll keep a close eye on things. Alright, so the fender's out, lines set up. Just take the bow thruster off then on. This helps a little bit. Here's the fuel truck. Good thing is the wind is actually going to assist here. So idea is just to get myself sliding around, drifting back onto the pier, and then there's nice big cleats which you'll see soon coming onto the left hand side, port side. Okay, 4.2 metres. It's nice here, you can keep it swinging. Keeps the tail coming around. Just bring a bit of stern port there. Slow us down a bit, keeps it going. Just go forward a bit, get a bit of momentum. Reverse idle on the port. Reverse forward on the starboard. Take the board out of idle, we'll keep the tail coming around. Bow, just move over. Okay, should be looking good. the tension up. Okay, there we go there. Gates here. That went so well, really pleased with it. I'll just check, make sure we didn't touch the pier with the bow, but okay, we're going to take 3,300 litres of fuel on board. Right, here we go, refueling. Truck's up there. He's on no time frame. Biggest thing is you won't pick it up, but the boat's sort of starting to lean a bit to starboard. We started out on this side with about 800, 900 litres basically, and now we're almost up to 1,700. It's got an auto stop, but I have to turn that valve off once we get near the top, otherwise diesel just drips out of that fitting. And then all the valves are open, so the fuel's slowly going to go over and fill the port side as well. He said he's got plenty of time, but we might just see how it goes, see if we don't have to change over, but I've got a funny feeling we're going to have to. But anyway, looks like about 3,300 litres, and it was 76p a litre, whereas in England it's £1.65, so good to fill up here. And you know what, it could even be worth coming back depending on how much we go through this summer, and then go up the French coast to Antwerp. We shall see, we shall see. Nice people anyway. Alright, that's the refuel done. Full tanks, 4,700 litres. We're just going to let the lines off and we can head away. Guernsey VTC, Guernsey VTC, this is Awanui NZ Channel 12.
Awanui, Guernsey VTS.
Guernsey VTS, Awanui NZ is vacating the fuel dock Samson Harbour for the eastern side of Herm Island, one soul on board.
Awanui, Guernsey VTS, that's received, St. Sampson out to Herm. I put the time height 5.64 metres, clear up.
Copy, thank you. Awanui NZ out. Alright, so we'll just get out of the harbour entrance here. Got an outgoing tide, so incoming wind, so hopefully it'll just secure us in almost the same spot. What have we got depth-wise? Right, on our way to Herm Island, just 5 miles away, and go and anchor there for the night. Then tomorrow morning Vince arrives, and then my cousin Eldon in the afternoon, so some company on board again. That'll be cool. Interesting to see what the anchorage is like actually, because it's pretty strong current through there, but the tide is dying off, so fingers crossed it won't be too bad. Alright, a little bit of rain coming in now. This is where we're going to tonight. This is Herm Island. That's where I stayed over in Belvoir Bay the other day. And here is Guernsey out to our port side. And you can just see that fortress out there, or citadel. And that is right there on Navally in the middle. So yeah, we're coming across. We're on a bearing of 106 coming out of here. So there's where we've come from. This is where we're going to. So it's quite a narrow channel, so what we've got to do is take up this bearing of 106 until we hit this lead-in line here, and then we're going to go and anchor in this little spot in here. It's right by the island, and you can see around it a lot of that dries out, but we're not going to really low tides at the moment, so pretty happy that we are going to be fine. On the western side, quite strong easterlies blowing, so it should be nice and sheltered. And there's a marker there for rough ground underneath. Low tide, the rocks will be visible, but when the tide's in and going out, they're not. That's marker E. It's got a green light, flashes every 5 seconds at night. Here we are going up the channel between the two islands. You can see there, look, down to 6 metres of depth under the keel. Tide's still going out, so it's going to get lower yet. And there on the Garmin chart you can see what bits come above the waterline when the tide is out. So the brown bits are up all the time, and the green bits only when the tide is out. So it's going to look quite interesting in a couple of hours time. I'm actually really looking forward to it. So we're going to go up here and then turn left into that anchorage, and you go on this little deep pool at the end there. Ferry going in. Then we'll anchor here. Another beautiful sunset on the eastern shoreline of Herm Island, sun setting behind Guernsey. Never get bored of them.
Mark, what's wrong? What's wrong?
It's not a challenge.
Is that water in the dinghy?
No.